Three, two, one. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub, coming right back from Las Vegas. How was it?
It was good.
Yeah,
Some people got COVID, but it was good.
that's surprising. All right, so the crew, Electrek crew, minus myself and Micah, I guess, um, was there for CES. And there was, like there usually is, there was a few AV, a few electric mobility news going on announced. Probably the biggest one, I would assume, was the unveiling of the Ram Trucks Electric, the calling it the Ram Revolution concept. So always a little bit of a bummer when we hear concept in there.
Yep.
Not quite necessarily production vehicle, but I think it was they announced anything about it being production intent.
No, I think
No,
they usually call it a prototype when it's like that far,
yeah.
but it's impressive nonetheless. Like some of the
Well,
things
I
that
have
kind of
2024 here. Peter said that they said something about 2024.
So I guess prototypes will be coming out this year.
Yeah. But they did release some specs. I was looking right here. 200 plus kilowatt-hour battery pack, so that's no joke. It's like Hummer EV type battery pack right there.
Yep.
And again, not that many details because it is a concept, but there's a lot of picture, which again, that too, it's not ideal when it's just at a concept level, and you can very much see like there's a I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I'm looking from like the back seat that's folded down. Is that
I
it?
guess.
Okay. Oh
Or
yeah, because there's a third row. That's part of the concept, right?
that's what's crazy. The third row. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like, wow, I was gonna say you see it better here, but I'm not so sure. Wait, okay, there's like a canoe in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Kayak.
yeah, a kayak. So you can fold down to or remove, I guess, the
The
back wall
back.
of the cabin.
Yeah, but that's very similar to the Chevy Silverado. So Chevy Silverado has something similar to that.
The full wall you can remove. The
Yeah.
surround was just oh yeah, okay. It's not just the. I thought it was just like the bottom part of it. I'd be very curious to how that has affect like aerodynamic performance and efficiency. So
Yeah.
here you get the over bird's eye view of the concept here with you see a full glass roof. Again, I wouldn't necessarily expect to have that in the production version. Maybe there's going to be a glass roof, but exactly like that, where the glass extend from the windshield. It's like a Model X windshield on steroid right there. Anyway, the
Yeah, can you imagine a work truck that you get a stone hits your window
yeah,
and you're
pricey.
replacing the whole roof.
Yeah, it's gonna be pricey. That's an interesting center display here, like a dual screen setup, a little bit like used to have like Razer laptops that look like
Yeah, it
that.
kind of looks like it folds out.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like a laptop type of thing. I don't mind it, but again, I don't think that's gonna be a production
No.
version either. So we're talking about a bunch of things that won't necessarily happen. Oh, what's that here? Oh,
It's like
that's
an extra.
that is that the side opens up and you can like
Yeah.
cargo space into the side of the truck.
Yeah, that's something that current Ram trucks have, and it's kind of neat where you have the storage like above the wheel. But
Okay, I
this
can
kind of
see it now.
expands it a little bit more. And I think like those you see on the above the bed, you see those like little things. I'm assuming that's like the the hinge for the thing
Yeah.
comes down and
My
covers that
camera
up.
lights are like blinding me, so I can barely see the screen. It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see it better. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's all renders, so it's
Yeah,
it's probably broken
it's
stuff.
all rendered, but they had something there, right? Because you saw like the skeleton of it, right?
Yeah, so I put it in the room. I don't know if Peter added to his story, but I had
No,
the skateboard of it, and it looked more like a skateboard for a car than a truck. I mean, it was a bigger version. I guess it
yeah,
was kind of like,
with a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, I would assume that's.
yeah, it was pretty burly.
Oh, Dan said that TFL says that the lower screen in the RAM is removable to use like an iPad. Yeah, that's again one of those things that I think that's just for the concept. Like I'd be surprised if it makes it to production.
Yeah, why would you want a RAM iPad? Like, they're not going to be as good as Apple. I don't think. Just
Oh
buy a
wow!
$300.
What do you mean with their incredible track record of user interface inside trucks for years? You would think
Yes.
that they would translate to consumer electronic perfectly. All right,
Clearly.
the ID.Aero has been unveiled as the ID7, so the new like top end sedan for Volkswagen or VW's lineup of ID vehicles. So obviously started with the ID3 in Europe, then we have the ID4, ID5. Um, what's the ID6 now? Oh, the ID6 is China only.
Is it
That's right.
China only?
Yeah, yeah. And now the ID7. So you got to see it in LA sort of see it in LA a few weeks ago, and now it was fully unveiled at CES here, as obviously a very much concept vehicle, also with this heavy duty camouflage.
Yeah, the camouflage is actually probably one of the most interesting things about the vehicle. That you can play that video. It actually is lit paint. That's not like light
Mhm.
behind the paint or anything. It's like a 40 layer process, and they have like electrodes in the paint, and by electrifying it, they can light it up. So they said it's too expensive. Like the paint costs more than the car at this point, but um, something they could do in the future. Police, EMS might like those kind of things, but I'm sure advertisers are probably thinking about that as well. Uh,
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a
and
consumer product ever, though.
yeah,
There's no way.
yeah, I don't think it would be legal, and I think as soon as somebody brought one of those out, they'd make it illegal.
Yeah. Also, just the electricity kind of consumption, your energy consumption will probably kill your efficiency too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something that I do like from Tesla. Like they just like what they show you was, I mean, it changes a little bit, of course, but for the most part, what they show you is what you get. Like
What you get.
these
Yeah.
these we just saw the RAM, and then we see this. Like, is like, do we really need to do that? Like, I guess it does create some impressions, like we do report on it and things like that. But I kind of want to see what we're gonna get. Like I'm not like the even though I know like it's a fancy paint and all that, but they still stuck to the camouflage pattern that screws with the actual shape of the vehicle. Like you don't see the shape of the car. Even forget about the video. Yeah, you see the profile of it for sure, but you could put a silhouette in there and you would see the same thing. Like look at the front end. Like you have no idea what the front end looks like from this. It just kills the whole lines of the vehicle.
Yep.
I would venture to say that it looks good, like it could look good. I do like the design of it, but again, coming back to what I just said, like you cannot tell for sure. Anything else that
Yeah.
they released about the car in terms of specs and whatnot?
I mean, it wasn't new, but 38 centimeter, 15-inch screen, which is bigger than current MEBs.
Hmm.
Digitally controlled air vents, which I hate. Illuminated touch sliders, not too exciting. You know, I think the thing that they were kind of impressed about was the 700 kilometer range, but that's optimistic WLTP. That's 435 miles. But in reality, the EPA is probably going to have it under 400, maybe 350, which is still good. Like 350 miles in a
Yeah,
sedan is solid. And I think a lot of that's because of the aero of the vehicle. It kind of the same size as a Passat, which is a fairly popular car in the US. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, like they didn't let us inside it in LA,
hmm
which was like weird. Like they
they
flew
didn't
us.
release any new pictures of
Yeah,
the interior too. No.
yeah. I mean, they flew us to Las Vegas, or sorry, Los Angeles. Like had us, like fed us whatever, and then they wouldn't even let us inside it, let alone to drive it. It felt very weird, like something wrong had happened. Like they still had to
Like
hang.
something else was supposed to be shown.
Right.
So now you're saying that actually the 700 kilometers range was unveiled when they first presented it in China. So it might not even be WLTP. It might actually be the Chinese standard, which is even more lax than
Well, they called
WLTP.
it 700 kilometers on a WLTP,
Oh,
but
okay.
it might be what's that old standard called? That
NEDC.
NEDC?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's even worse.
So, I mean, yeah. So it's definitely not going to get 700 kilometers,
Yeah,
but yeah, 300 something, hopefully.
and that's gonna be the new like top of the line. Is it gonna be like
Yeah.
equivalent to the ID.5 as a sedan, or is it gonna be more like a new? Because VW is not premium. Like they venture into it a little bit. It's not the cheapest vehicles out there, but um, or should we brace ourselves for the pricing? You think on that one?
I think it's going to be like the Ioniq 6.
Okay.
Uh, I think it's going to be premium, like upper middle class kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
not quite into the EQE or i4 area. Probably bigger than the i4, but I think it's going to be similar, maybe slightly more premium. It's like the Ioniq
Yeah, fifty thousand
5.
dollars probably, or something like
I would say in the 50s or 60s.
that. Okay.
After tax credits and everything.
Okay. All right, Lightyear also used CES to launch unveil some pictures. Scooter actually says he saw the prototype, so and the pictures are strange, but like the slider things that we have, but you still see most of the vehicle out there, and it's the Lightyear 2. So obviously we know the Lightyear 1, uh, very much high hand, super expensive vehicle, but it's kind of a test bed for Lightyear's ultra efficiency EV technology and solar on the top of the vehicle to create a long range vehicle that you can charge with the sun to a certain degree. It's not like the AFEELA or anything like that where they basically kind of car can charge itself. It's a little bit, it's more functional of a car, but that also comes with efficiency losses. Obviously, it has four wheels to start with. That's a big difference. Um,
Mm.
and but this one is going to be a lot less pricier. Did they start at an MSRP below $40,000?
Which is like way lower because
Yeah,
the Zero is like way into six figures. I think it's like 200,000 or something.
yeah. I think it was started at 150, but now it might be closer to 250. But I would for the same thing though. I would they say below $40,000 now, but in by the time this hits the market, it might be different. And when does this thing hit the market again? 2025. So we still have a good 2 years going here. So I wouldn't be yeah, no, they already well, yeah, I remember they already targeted around $30,000. Already went up by 25%. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see it closer to $50,000. But this is the kind of car that even if it's a little bit more expensive, a lot of people will go for it simply because of what it represents. Like it's the, even though we don't agree with the idea that electric vehicles are not that efficient because they are charged on the grid that is dirty. I mean, at least you have an option to have it not dirty, because with gas, like whatever you get your gas from, you're gonna burn it, and that makes it dirty. uh, with an electric vehicles, at least you have some options in terms of choosing what kind of electricity is gonna go into it. Obviously, if you're in a place where the grid is dominated by fossil fuels, and like, coal and things like that, it's not an ideal situation. But this eliminates the whole thing where you could technically just leave it in the sun and have it charge. Have they updated the again, charging though with the sun? Like, it depends on where you park it, depends on where you are and all that. So the any kind of figure that they would release is not ideal. But I don't think they released anything here. They
No.
just released the range where promising to deliver over 500 miles of range. So that's the fun thing about this. Again, I think 500 miles, 800 kilometers is a bit optimistic for sure. But with the idea of we want it to be charged by solar panels that's on the car. Having solar panels on a vehicle has a lot of limitations. So you cannot add a ton of energy under the power from any kind of solar cells that's embedded in the body of the vehicle. So in order to optimize that, you have to make the car as efficient as possible. So that efficiency also translates to whatever power you get from whatever energy capacity you get from the battery pack that you have in the vehicle, which you can also charge like a regular EV. So the idea of optimizing for daily range from the sun will result in efficiency gains from the battery pack too. So I would be shocked if this thing gets 500 miles of range at $30,000, $40,000, whatever it's going to be.
Yep.
But I would expect it to get a decent range, just like the AFEELA surprised a lot of people. You can get one with 1,000 miles of range. I think it's an overkill though, but
For sure.
uh, it's possible to get a lot of range with a lot fewer batteries. All right, the last thing that was unveiled at CES that we want to talk about is the Sony Honda. So Sony has been talking about making electric vehicles forever. They released a bunch of different prototypes over the year, but we never really get that excited about it because plans to bring it to production have always been extremely vague. Now they partner with Honda last year. We reported on that, and that sort of brought some credibility to their EV plans because obviously Honda already produced cars, including EVs. So now Sony partnering with Honda, maybe it's actually going to come out in something. And now they unveil this prototype that's supposedly going to lead to a production car in 2026. Well, take that with a grain of salt, though. And it's called apparently the AFEELA. AFEELA.
Yep.
That's how you would pronounce it, right? Um, they release a few specs here. Okay, those are the specs that were announced on the last prototype, though. So 400 kilowatt dual motor system, pretty powerful.
Yep.
Resulting in a 4.8 second 0 to 62, 100 kilometers an hour. Top speed of 149 miles per hour, 240 kilometers per hour. That's a lot. Yeah, so it's a Sony, and they are bidding on their autonomous driving technology, and that is built with 45 sensors. So take that, Tesla. They're going the complete other way to Tesla, that's just been removing sensors like crazy. They're like all out with the sensors, 45 of them. That's kind of insane, really. For some reason, I cannot zoom in on that photo. I just want to see like what kind of sensor. At 45, I assume that they have everything in there: ultrasonics, lidars, radars, sonars, cameras, and all that. Yeah, they also obviously sit Sony, so the in-car system is gonna be powered by their entertainment system, supported by PlayStation products, of course.
PlayStation in every seat.
It sounds like it. To be honest. Well, you don't need, well, you don't need a PlayStation on every seat, but people nowadays. Do you remember the good days of the split screen, like playing multiplayer on split screens on the console? So now that doesn't exist anymore. Like, well, it does exist, but people don't like it. Like online has taken over so much that people are used to playing on the same screen. So maybe they could develop some kind of technology here with having just one PlayStation in the car, playing one game multiplayer, but dual screen. Maybe that technology already exists. I haven't played console, even though I'm a gamer. I'm a PC
that one
gamer.
Tesla game, the racing game, is split screen.
Yeah, I mean it's like a Mario Kart type racing game. I think like I still if there's I don't remember exactly last game I played split screen, but it's probably like a Mario Kart type game. So not much other details, nothing on the range, on the battery pack. Obviously, Sony has some experience with batteries, like in consumer electronics, all powered by lithium-ion batteries these days. But that's pretty much it for CES. So it wasn't a giant EV thing this year, but I mean, CES is consumer electronics. Well, no, I think no, actually, now it's just called CES, right? They don't even call themselves consumer electronics show.
I mean, that's where the thing came from. I would also mention that I saw, and I tweeted about this, but I saw a lot of DC fast charging there, like from a lot of companies. I was going to do a roundup, but I didn't get enough information from anybody. There was a cool one called FreeWire that we saw. Scooter and I were both talking about it. It comes with like 160 kilowatt hour battery pack, so like enough for 2 full charges. And what's good about that is you can put it on just like a normal 240, and the idea is that people come up and they charge their car pretty quickly, and then when they're gone, the batteries fill up again. And obviously, if there's a line of people and they don't take a lot of time between charging, then the battery will deplete. But that's just not how things work. There'll be
depending on the station.
Yeah. So if it doesn't fill up, then it goes down to a level 2, and people are upset. But it's so much cheaper to install these that the price of the batteries is actually less than usually the installation price. And then with the batteries, you get some extra benefits, like if you're putting this at a restaurant or a convenience store, you can use those batteries as backup, and you have a 160 kilowatt hour battery backup for your restaurant or business. which is something you would already pay a lot of money for. And then also in the future when the utilities get around to eliminating super peaks, this can send electricity out to the grid, or can not accept electricity from the grid in a super peak kind of situation. So
Well, it
a
already
lot of
eliminates the peak charges, right? Because you're always going to charge a battery pack as a level 240.
yeah, you always want to charge it at the lower rates, but
Yeah.
because this it's always taking electricity in from the
Hmm.
grid to fill the batteries back up or whatever. But it can stop taking electricity from the grid and just
Hmm.
charge from the batteries, um, which is like that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. A few micro mobility stuff too that I assume you guys are going to talk on the
Yep.
Wheelie podcast next week. Is it
Yeah.
not this weekend? Or I can see it every
Yeah.
other
It's an
week.
off week.
Yeah. All right. All right, let's jump into some Tesla news because there was actually quite a lot of Tesla news this week. So it might be a long show, but we'll try to get it fast. And then we're going to have two other non Tesla news that's non CES also. and and then we're going to take your questions. So if you guys have any question, any subjects you want us to discuss, you can put them in the comment section. Right now, we're going to get to them in about, I would say, 30 minutes. And if you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe. Always super useful. And if you're listening on your podcast app, if you can give us a 5-star review, those help tremendously. Free to do, take a second, and we appreciate every single one of them. All right, so Tesla last weekend released their delivery numbers and production numbers. So they were 439,701 production, obviously a new record, and 405,000 vehicle delivered. So that was below expectation, which was around 420 for the quarter, the consensus, I would say, from Wall Street. So significantly below that. Uh, Tesla, again, sort of blamed their delivery wave being smoothed out at the end of the quarter and not going all out like that, even though Elon sent out an email for people to go all out for the deliveries at the end of the quarter. He said, Tesla, and I quote, we continue to transition towards a more even regional mix of vehicle builds, which again led to further increase in cars in transit at the end of the quarter. Believe what you want. You can either believe that, or you can believe that there was some demand issues in some market, because quite surprisingly right now, there's some market that there's a lot of inventory available right now in certain market, not everywhere, but in some market that normally Tesla doesn't have anything at the end of the quarter because they're waiting for a shipment from either Shanghai or Fremont or now Texas, really. Now they have a bunch of inventory early in January. That's not exactly normal, and we're going to get into that. Full year production, 1.3 million cars produced, 1.3 million cars delivered this year. So that's awesome. That's a significant increase year over year. And quarter over quarter, it's a 40% increase. Well, no, excuse me. Year over year for the quarter is 40% increase, and year over year for the whole year is a 47% production increase. So that's extremely good. Close to the 50% that Tesla is looking for. But yeah, a little bit disappointing for sure. And keep in mind that Tesla had 20,000 vehicles in transit at the end of last quarter, and there was a they say in transit there was a discrepancy between deliveries and production of 20,000 vehicles. Now there's a discrepancy over 30,000 vehicles this quarter. So you can do that math pretty easily right there.
Yep.
All right, we have more indication that Tesla is preparing to launch the cheaper version of the Model Y, the Texas Model Y in the US. So basically in every other market, Tesla is offering a cheaper Model Y. Some are calling it standard range or mid-range or whatever you want to see it, but it's like the 279 miles version. That is a little bit higher range actually than the standard range that you have in China and in Europe. Elon has said before that at first they didn't want to launch that standard range version because the range was not enough for the North American market. But So that version with the 4680 cells in Texas ends up with 279 miles of range, 449 kilometers, which they find appropriate apparently. So when it was first launched, it was just for employees. Then it started showing up in inventory, and some Tesla employees would sometimes offer it to people that order a long range Model Y. And then it's like, we can get a quicker delivery, a price adjustment of like, I think the difference is $5,000. I think it's 62,000. It starts at this version, and then they would deliver that instead. Now in the back end, and that's thanks to Green the Only, I think, found it. The Model Y standard range now is in the back end of the code, so you still not see it right here, but it's there in the back end. So we assume that Tesla is about to turn it on at some point, and we've seen an increased number in inventory too over the last few weeks. Of course, that matched the fact that Tesla announced that they're now producing enough cells to build enough 4680 cells to build 1,000 Model Y and Gigafactory. Well, no, this is a bit confusing now because obviously Tesla is producing up to 3,000 Model Ys a week at Gigafactory Texas, but most of them are still with the 2170 cell. So we assume that now about 1,000 of them, or soon to be 1,000 of them, are going to be 4680, because Tesla has now the capacity to produce enough 4680 cells to produce 1,000 Model Ys per week. So that explains the increased availability in inventory of those vehicles, and we expect that Tesla will soon release it in the configurator, and apparently at $62,000. Now, it's still a problem for the tax credit in the US. It's still over the $55,000 limit unless you get it with a 7-seater option. But we did discuss that a little bit more this week, and it looks like the problem with that, with the Model Y not being considered an SUV if it's not 7-seater, has to do with the gross vehicle weight needed to be at 6,000 pounds, and Tesla comes up short of about 300 pounds. So that's the problem. Then there's the IRS right now is taking public comments about it, and you can actually send one if you are concerned about this issue. And there's even a petition going to allow the Model S and the Model Y, but not just Tesla vehicles. Obviously, the Mach-E is also one that is a concern because it's also getting a 55,000 limit, even though the Mach-E does start under 55,000. So, but there's a bunch of configuration that don't get it. And when you compare it to other SUVs like the ID.4, for example, that is getting it, and the discrepancy is a bit confusing because the Model Y has the same capacity as even more cargo space. Like everything that makes an SUV normally, like the Model Y also complies to, is just because it's more efficient in terms of the weight, you don't get the tax credit. So it makes no sense. So there's an effort right now to change that, but whether it's going to result in anything concrete, we don't know yet. All right, moving on to China. So there was a lot of talk in December about what's going on in China. Tesla offered a bunch of incentive for people to buy. And then there was a rumor that there was significant demand issue in China. The tax credit was, even though there was a small incentive, government incentive that was going away in January. So it did help some people to order, but there was a lot of talk about demand issues. And also there was a lot of talk about Tesla cutting prices. And then Tesla came back and like shut down the rumors. We're not going to cut prices, but then they specified we're not going to cut prices in 2022. It's 2023 now, and they did cut prices, and they cut prices significantly. The price went down up to $7,000 for the Model Y long range, so one of the most popular vehicle out there. But a bunch of like even the standard range Model 3, which is the cheapest vehicle out there, saw a $4,000 price reduction, now at $33,000, the cheapest it has ever been. Even cheaper than the original price that was supposed to be at $35,000 in the US, and it was briefly, really. So we see up between 5% price reduction for the Model 3 Performance to 13.4% price reduction for the Model Y. So significant price drops there. And I saw that, I want to get the next story about it, but I saw that Grace Tao, the VP of Tesla China, tried to justify the price increase by saying that, I'm going to quote her here, behind Tesla's price adjustment. Oh, this is I think that's a typo here. There are countless of engineering innovations which are essentially unique and excellent laws of cost control. This is all translated from Chinese, so it might sound a little bit weird. Including not limited to vehicle integration design, production line design, supply chain management, and even milliseconds level automation of robotic arm, coordination route. So I assume she means like within the production factory. Start from first principle, like they love to use that word.
Hmm.
And insist on cost pricing, again translated from Chinese. Respond to the country's call with practical action to promote economic development and release consumption potential. A lot of blah 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 to say like, oh, we actually reduce cost, that's why we are reducing pricing right now. But historically speaking, Tesla has never reduced pricing because they could. Like if they have
No,
cost
they
improvement,
can. Yeah,
yeah,
they charge as much as they can. They've
yeah,
always done that, and
like
why wouldn't? And that's
virtually,
what everybody does.
yeah, like virtually any product really. So Tesla, they have made cost improvement in the past. I don't know if they did right now. They might have done it on this. It might be through for sure. But when they do, they just increase their gross margin, and we've seen that consistently over the last year.
Yep,
Um,
big time.
when they do reduce pricing, is because they have to create demand. There's no doubt about it. So I don't believe that Tao statement at all. It might be true, like they might make some cost improvement, but 13%, like that, just as the new year starts and some incentive went away. No, the incentive are smaller than the price reduction too. So that goes to show. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that it might be the incentive plus the cost improvement reduce, but it would be a stretch in my opinion. And then the funny thing that happened, so that news came out like in the middle of the night, and then oh, get that back up. Okay. Oh, okay, I was already on the right article. Came out in the middle of the night, and Tesla opened in pre-market trading like 5% down, like significantly down over the news, because China is obviously an important market. And even with the price reduction, I think we assume that the price reduction are going to work though, because it makes actually Tesla's vehicle very competitive with like Neo and Xpeng and cheaper like Chinese competition out there. Even BYD, though BYD has a lot of plugins rather than just fully electric vehicles. So it makes Tesla very competitive. It's likely going to result in a surge in buyers. And but the problem is that even that happens, it's obviously going to shatter Tesla's gross margin in China, where they sell a lot of vehicles, and that's going to affect the bottom line. So that I think that was the main reason why the price of Tesla stock went down, though it goes down all the time these days anyway. But then the Tesla fans got involved, and the pump started going, and they started like releasing these videos here, like this one, of a crowd like forming in front of a Tesla store. And there was a few of those Tesla store that happened today, and the Tesla fans and investors tried to frame it as like, oh, this is people are rushing to the stores to buy Tesla cars, which doesn't make that much sense to start with, because most people buy online. And not even that, especially when there's a price decrease like that, people generally just the people that are going to buy are already people that are in the market for a car. They probably already have checked out the car and everything, and they're just like waiting to pull the trigger, and then the price decrease is what makes them pull the trigger. So they don't necessarily need to go to the store in the first place. But then I put this through a few of my Chinese channels, and they all agree the same thing. No, this is, and I saw a bunch of Weibo messages and the same videos on Weibo. Unfortunately, we cannot embed Weibo in our post here, but the same videos on Weibo, but from the people that are there, and they're saying that they're protesting Tesla for the price decrease. And I know this is like, people are like, oh, Fred, you're taking a story about like Tesla decreasing prices and boosting sales, and you're making it negative. I'm not making negative. They are making it negative. I'm just reporting on it. Like, I'm not necessarily agree with protesting on a price drop, though in this case I do have to admit that Tesla sent out some mixed messages saying that we won't decrease the price. Of course, they did had this year, and sure enough, as soon as this year is over, they did decrease it. So they didn't lie or anything like that, but they did, like, they did incentivize a lot of people to buy last year, and now the car would be much cheaper for them this year, as much as $7,000, depending on if they had access to the incentives. So
and well, it's been a while since Tesla has dropped prices, and so we don't remember this, but like every time Tesla makes a huge price drop, it also lowers the value of every single Tesla out there.
that's true
So
too. Yeah. But for the most part, the people protesting, and this has been a pattern for Tesla customers in China. They do tend to protest after price drops like that. It happened back in 2019. So there hasn't been a lot of price drops of Tesla vehicles, but there was one in
not recently.
2019. There was one in October of this year, a much smaller one than this one, though. And even the smaller one resulted in a bunch of people protesting after that. And now, again, this one, a bigger one, obviously. But it's kind of funny that the Tesla fans, and this video went viral. Like, I think it was seen like 500,000 times. Can I click on? Yeah. It's still up as if, over 500,000 views on this, and it's still up as if a crowd are buying Tesla cars and a bunch of Tesla super fans are retweeting it and everything. But this is weird, Elon Musk. I don't know if okay, I can share this tab instead. All right, this is a weird one. So views on the videos are 185,000 views, but views on the tweet are 500,000.
So people are taking the video elsewhere and tweeting it separately, or maybe it's taken from somewhere.
But as soon as you're viewing the tweet, you're viewing the video. No?
Oh, you're saying there's more view. I guess people aren't hitting play.
It plays automatically.
I mean,
is Elon boosting his tweet views?
I don't know.
Could it be? Could I just uncover this?
I don't. Somehow I don't believe that they're that advanced yet. Maybe.
But yeah, it was pretty funny that people are seeing it as like, this is people rushing the stores to buy. But in fact, most of those videos are about people protesting the pricing, the price drop.
But you forgot the best part. Now there's a $35,000 Tesla. You just have to go to China to buy it. 33 something.
Yeah, it is pretty cheap. I mean, if Tesla is still making money on that, it's impressive by itself.
Yeah, it's great news.
Yeah, but again, we're gonna keep a close eye on that story going forward, because in the next few months we're gonna see how it's affecting Tesla's sales in China, and then of course that's gonna be a while, because that's gonna be the Q1 earnings, which is gonna be probably end of April. We're gonna see how this has affected Tesla's gross margin, obviously, because that's cutting the gross margin by a third, basically. And if you cut gross margin by a third, you cut net profit by like half, easily. Obviously, this is only China, but China is a giant market for Tesla than any other EVs. All right, this is good news for all S and X buyers, or all the rich folks out there, I guess, because this is unattainable for most people. Ain't a cheap car. But the Yoke steering wheel is not the only option anymore. If you go on Tesla's configurator for either the Model S or X right now, you can scroll down, and in the interior section, you don't just have the option of choosing your interior colors. You can also choose between your steering control, whether round or yoke, or kind of a butterfly wheel, is better known.
Demand trigger.
So a lot of people. Yeah, you think that's the demand lever?
Yeah.
Maybe it is to a degree, I guess.
I don't know. It's a low number car, so it's not going to move the needle.
Big one, but I think a lot of people are going to go for it. But obviously, it doesn't. A lot of people are calling it, this is the normal wheel now. Sorry, it's not necessarily a normal steering wheel, though. It's a round steering wheel, but it's not normal. So people kind of forget. But the Yoke, not just the shape makes it a novel steering wheel. Also, doesn't have any stock on it. Doesn't have a turn signal stock. Doesn't have a drivetrain, a drive mode stock. It doesn't have a windshield wiper stock, anything like that. So now everything is either automated, or it's a force touch button on the steering wheel. So it's a different way of driving for other people. Not everyone likes it. For most people that I thought that are using it, actually, most people say that they get used to the shape pretty well. It's the no stock that is the more difficult to use to, and some people don't like the force touch button. Personally, I did use them, but again, this is more of a habit thing. So if you have the car, it's a completely different thing than just test driving it like I did. I didn't mind the force touch button personally. So and what I generally do anyway for like the windshield wiper and things like that, what I like to do in my Model 3 is I just hit whenever the automatic wiper are not functioning well, which is like half the time basically, because Tesla refused to use a weather sensor and then use their vision sensor instead for the weather. It's not bad in like in rain, for example, but in snow it's a bit different. So I touch the button one that gives your wiper one, and that pops up your wiper controls at the bottom right of your screen, so it's easy to change them real quick. So you can do basically the same instead of like you click the button, the force touch button instead of the stock. So it's basically the same thing on that front. Turn signal might be a little bit more of a problem for some people, I would assume. But the shape itself is a big deal for some people. Like I posted this picture here. Like look at that. Like this is very awkward way of driving here, of holding your steering wheel. And obviously you don't have to do that much, especially higher speed. It's never going to happen. But for parking situation and like that, you have to do full revolution on the steering wheel. Then for sure it's going to happen all the time. So it's not an ideal situation. Again, people say that they get used to it pretty easily, and I assume that's true. But if you prefer a full round steering wheel, then go for it. And the thing too about the shape itself is that, so what's the benefit of it? It looks cooler. I agree, it does look cooler. But Elon's excuse is that it's better visibility for the instrument cluster, I guess, which probably true, but just how much better? Like what, 5-10% better? I don't know if it's worth it. It does look cool though.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
Very space ballsy.
And along with the new option for a new order, if you custom order it, Tesla is now offering it as a retrofit for existing owners. So if you bought a Model S or X over the last 2 years since they did the refresh, you can now order a $700. Though that's going to be a bit of a bummer because people that order right now brand new, there's no the yoke or the round steering wheels are the same price. But if you get the round now, it's going to be $700, but that includes the installation.
Do you get to keep the yoke?
Good question. That's a good question. It's not in it. The only thing they note is like the retrofit is only compatible with Model S and X vehicle configured with a yoke steering wheel. Purchase price include installation through Tesla service. I'd be surprised if they let you keep it. So yeah,
use
also
it for a flight simulator or something.
Yeah. Also, they say no stock, no shifter. Again, you don't have any stocks on this. And yeah, $700 if you want to do it. It starts in March. The installation starts in March, but you can put your name on a list right now. But that's something that came out earlier this week. Tesla announced a new investor day coming in March 1st. So at first view, it might sound like a shareholder meeting type of thing, but no, this looks separately than the shareholder meeting. It's more of like a battery day or AI day, but now it's investor day. And it's going to be at Gigafactory, Texas. It's going to be live stream, like those other example I just mentioned, with option to attend in person for some institutional and retail investor, but details will follow later. I would assume that Tesla is going to use their new shareholder platform that they launched last year for that. And they say that they're gonna, our investor will be able to see our most advanced production line as well as discuss a long-term expansion plan, Generation 3 platform, capital allocation, and other subject with our leadership team. So, I mean, correct me if you think differently here, but it sounds like it's a bit reaction, like a reaction to the stock price. I feel like because. What is investor day? Like it's pretty vague. I understand like battery day. Okay, we focus on batteries and we update on our 4680 cell program and all that structural battery pack and everything. AI day obviously speaks for itself. Maybe like if you want to talk about like production, like you do maybe a manufacturing day or you do a powertrain day. If you want to talk about the new platform, I don't know, but expansion plan. generation 2 platform, capital allocation, all that. Like that sounds like let's pump a little bit. Let's do a little bit of a pump.
I was thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
and obviously it's in response probably to the stock price.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, that obviously what's exciting for us in there, because we're more like a consumer product type people. Generation 3 platform, like getting some details on that would be nice. From what we know so far, this is like the new, if you consider like Model S and X being generation 1, then Model 3 and Y were generation 2. Now the new platform is supposedly going to enable a cheaper or cheaper models, because they're going to be probably more than one. Likely the robo-taxi is going to be built on that, and a Model 2, that's what people have been calling it, but I don't think it's going to be the official name, like a new $25,000 Tesla, probably closer to $30,000 if you're realistic. Probably like a small hatchback, something like that, which would be real nice. I would love a light Tesla built hatchback. That would be cool, like a little hot hatch.
Cooler than a Bolt?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be cooler
Yeah.
than the
Okay.
Bolt.
Yeah.
It
It didn't
will
take
be.
you. There was like a slight hesitation, but not more than like the time it takes
The
for me to
Bolt
say that to
is
you.
cool, especially
Okay.
at the current pricing. It is cool, but I mean, it's cool if
Yeah.
you are a 2-car family and everything like that. Like for you, it makes a ton of sense. You have your Model Y, and you have your Bolt, and whoever needs a car right now in the family grabs the car. That makes more sense. But I'm a single guy,
Yep.
and no family, so technically I have 2 cars, but I have 1 car really that I use all the time. The other car I just keep it ownership wise because I have some sentimental value to it, but my parents are using it all the time. I don't really have access to it or anything like that. So I have 1 car. I need that car to be a good like everyday driving car around the city and whatnot. And if I want to go on a road trip, I want to use the same car. I want to have to use another car. And if I had a Bolt, I would have to do that. A nice little hatch, though, a hot hatch, can go like do some racing with it too, and everything like that. That would be nice.
Yeah, like electric GTI. It's weird that Volkswagen
Mhm.
doesn't think to bring like a nice ID.3 over to the US, and they don't think people would like that.
Can you imagine a nice dual motor ID.3? That's
Yeah.
basically what I would assume Tesla would do with that generation 3 platform, like less expensive
Yep.
but lighter. So you get decent range still, but through efficiency gains. Structural battery pack with 4680 cells. You can probably make it like a 40 kilowatt hour version and still get 250 of range in it. Like very
Yeah, it might be
light.
a little optimistic, but yeah, something like that.
No, I mean, if it's not too big,
Yeah, that's
would be
true.
a smaller car again. All right, moving on from Tesla, we have 2 pieces of news that we want to discuss, and then we're gonna jump into the comment section. If you have any question, please put them right now. We're gonna get to them in just a few minutes. Rivian, just like Tesla releasing their production number, Rivian's release theirs, and they announced that they produced just over 10,000 vehicles, 10,020 in Q4, and they delivered 8,000 of them. So there's 2,000 vehicles in transit. And it brought the total vehicle produced to 24,337, so just short of their goal of $25,000 with $25,000, 25,000 units for the full year, and they delivered 20,332. So pretty good performance, really very close to what they were aiming for. You see the progression here. They went from like 2,500 in Q1, jumped 4,400 in Q2, 7,000 in Q3, 10,000. It shows a very nice progression in terms of the ramp up and production. Very quick ramp up too, faster than Tesla was for the Model S, for example. But I still have some serious concern though for the company, and I know not a lot of people share that and. With me, and I understand, but they are not even close to making any money on those cars yet, and they are producing 10,000 of them a quarter. I mean, we don't know for this quarter yet because obviously we're going to be waiting for their earnings call, their earnings result in the few. I think Rivian is a little bit behind normally. Like it's not gonna be in January, but probably in February.
Yeah, but they got to get the price per vehicle way down because it's been hovering over 3 times the sale price, right?
The cost per vehicle down, you mean? Yeah, the
Right.
cost per vehicle. Because last quarter, with 7,000 vehicles produced, it cost them 3 times what they are charging per vehicle to produce them. So for every $100,000 in revenue, and then, I mean the cars are like about what's this like $75 to $90,000 depending on the configuration. So it basically cost them like $250,000 to produce a truck every time, and they're selling them for a third of that. So it's completely unsustainable. And I understand that. Like people are like, yeah, people were saying the same thing about Tesla and everything, and Tesla ended up improving that and everything. And I agree, that's true. But in terms of Rivian, we're not seeing an improvement. And by the time Tesla was producing anywhere near these kind of volumes, here 10,000 vehicles a quarter now, not only did we saw an improvement in the gross margin, the gross margin was positive. They were actually making, they weren't making a profit overall because, again, that's then and Rivian has the same problem too. They were building their supercharger network, they were building their service network and all that, and Rivian is doing that too. So they're losing a ton of money on that. But obviously, they have to do that if they want to become a legit
Also,
automaker.
don't forget Georgia. Spending a lot of money in Georgia on batteries.
Isn't that on the ice though, Georgia? I thought it was on the ice though.
I don't know. I mean, they have a battery plant there with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think the big factory is on the ice.
I think it's moving forward.
Okay.
It did have a couple hiccups.
Okay. So Tesla was already making money per car though. So let's say that the Model S at this point was selling for on average $75,000 or $80,000. It was a bit cheaper back then actually than it is now, because now it starts at like 105 or something. They were making it for like $75,000 and selling it for 80. Like they were making a small profit on it and everything. This is completely different. Obviously, they have a giant cash on hand position. I think did Jamie share it on this one? I think it's over like $15 billion. 16 billion. No, that's not it. $14 billion. So losing right now about $2 billion a quarter. You're gonna last a little bit. You're gonna last a while actually with it. But if you're not seeing any improvement in the gross margin, then there's no way out of it. Like you're gonna go bankrupt, or you're gonna need to raise more money. Now, Rivian has a lot of very big investors that might be able to put more money in it, i.e., Amazon and other big funds and things like that could help them out. Ford has been kind of walking away a little bit from Rivian. There's another big one too, Cox Automotive. So there's big partners in there that can play a role. But would they want to do that if Rivian hasn't shown any improvement in the gross margin? Because then you're like, okay, what's your business? You're in business of selling a truck for a third of what it costs you to produce it. Like that's not a business. So you need to see at least some improvement towards getting to a profitable vehicle program, and we're not seeing that from Rivian right now. So I know a lot of investors or hate to hear me say that right now. It's like, Fred, you're being too negative. It's a startup. You have to be positive. It's like, yeah, I understand all that, but and I want Rivian to succeed so much. Like at least not yet. I don't have any people calling me like really like RIVNQ or something like that, but it's gonna come. But I'm not negative about them. I don't want them to fail, anything like that. I'm just letting people know the trend is not good right now. We need to see a major change in the trend. And I want to see it this quarter, honestly, because 10,000 vehicles is a lot of vehicles to lose money on. So if they're still losing like $100,000 per car they sell, 10,000 vehicles, it's massive. On top of losing money, of course, building out your service network, your charging network, the waypoint network, all that. I want to see a change. If we don't see it like this quarter or the next, I have real worries about Rivian's prospect at this point.
Yeah, it's true. But we'll find out. Do you still have yours on order?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like the last time that they sent me an update, they said that I'm going to get my truck in January. Nah, I'm not like I haven't seen. Obviously, they're not going to do that until they do a service center in Quebec, which I haven't heard anything about yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is pushed from January. But also, I'm thinking, do I really want it? To be honest, even if Rivian by itself fails, I kind of feel like uh, it would be a great acquisition target for someone.
For sure.
But it would be a big someone because this is a big problem that they have. Like they have a great team and all that, and they're producing a lot of cars. Like they're producing 10,000 electric trucks a quarter. That's awesome. But it's worth nothing if they're not making any money on those trucks. So
Yep.
you would have to have a company that's able to come in and fix that, which is a giant problem to fix. So who can do that? I was thinking Apple, and Apple obviously has some interest into electric vehicle market. But do they want to do that? It's not really the Apple way, right? To come in
No.
and like buy a huge company like that. They haven't done that in forever. So I don't know. I don't know who else would come in. Like would an automaker want to do that? I don't know an automaker that would have the money to do it. Other than
Well, I mean,
Tesla,
if
actually.
if they're going bankrupt, they might they might not
Yeah.
need that as much.
Yeah, I
But
mean they're already a lot cheaper than they used to be. Like it used to be $100 billion company. Now I think they are worth like 20 billion or something like that. Which I mean is a lot, obviously, but uh, not in the context of what's their market cap? $15 billion. Tesla could buy it outright cash right now.
yeah, Elon
Um,
could with his Twitter sale.
yeah, you could sell Twitter right now for half of what he bought it and still buy Rivian from that money,
Crazy.
literally. I mean, Tesla would actually be the best buyer for them, I think, because Tesla knows how to bring down cost of producing an electric vehicle in mass. They have done it before, but now that's also not really Tesla's MO to buy the giant companies like that.
What about Geely with their Range Rover division?
Oh, yeah, Geely could be. Yeah, Geely would make sense, especially since they have an history of buying other automakers. Yeah, Geely could be an idea. I know like Shalvo and a lot of Rivian fans, especially Rivian shareholders right now, are going to be really mad about us even discussing this possibility of them going bankrupt or anything like that. I'm not saying that this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm saying this is exactly where it's trending right now. If they don't start making money, even if it's a slim gross margin on the truck, or at least show an improvement of the gross margin, significant improvement, and not just selling trucks for a third of what they cost to make right now.
Right. At least start going in the right direction.
I don't think anyone can argue with that. I don't think RJ, CEO of Rivian, could argue with that. Like he knows like this is a giant problem that they need to fix. I think their position has always been, though, we have the cash position to withhold whatever is happening and do it.
Yeah.
All right, last piece of news before we jump into you guys' comments is Mercedes-Benz is gonna move ahead with their own charging network, their own branded charging network, like the Tesla Supercharger, basically, in partnership with ChargePoint. But ChargePoint is not really a charging network operator; they're more of a hardware. Like they build charging station, and other people buy them for them. So they're selling them to Mercedes. That's gonna make them like this right there, nice looking station, branded Mercedes. And I don't think they released any specs for the actual charger, but they talk about 10,000. I think they said charge point, though they didn't say station. Oh, well, and I don't mean charge point, the company. I mean like charging stalls or connectors, really. Not 10,000.
You guys saw 400 locations. Is that like?
Yeah, I think that's in North America, though.
Okay.
So they're going to start with North America. So we'll finance, jointly operate 400 charging hubs, 25,000 charging points, in
Like
North
100,
America, and 10,000 charging point total around the world. So this is, I mean, I was talking to Scooter about it. He said that GM also is going to have their own branded charging station with EVgo, but I thought they were going to be EVgo, because that's the difference between EVgo and ChargePoint. Like EVgo is their own charging network operator too. So I think this is basically like the first, other than Rivian, other than Rivian that did follow Tesla with their own branded superchargers charging station. This is the first one that's not a dealership network type of thing, because I don't really count the dealership network because it's not as optimal as an actual charging network meant to enable long distance driving, which is generally what you use a DC fast charger for, other
Yeah.
than maybe in cities for people that don't have access to home charging, which is also very important. But when you're talking about a Mercedes owner, you own an EQS or an EQE, I would assume that you have access to home charging, whether at like normally you have a garage. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Normally you have a garage. I know there's some exceptions to that rule, obviously, and that's why people are building charging station within cities so that people can just once a week you go there and you charge instead of uh, having a full battery whenever you leave in the morning at home every time. So this is
We
this is
should
great
note
news. Yeah.
should note that Volvo actually has a small mini charging network going from like Seattle to Colorado at uh, Starbucks stations.
Oh, really?
They did a little press release. I think we did a little post on that. Um, and they're using ChargePoint as well, so kind of similar to this, but obviously on a much smaller scale. I think
Okay.
they
Well,
promised like 10 or 20.
yeah. Then let me rephrase that. For sure, Mercedes-Benz is the first automaker, the first legacy automaker to follow Tesla into having a global DC fast charging network. The supercharger is the only global DC fast charging network. Even whatever EVgo is doing with GM, that's just in North America, and Rivian is also just in North America. Though I know they have like global ambitions, but I don't think they're gonna exit the North American market and go anywhere else for a while. Like they need to figure out this market first. So right now, this plan from Mercedes-Benz is the first to actually follow Tesla and not rely on third-party station anymore. I mean, people would say like, "Oh, Volkswagen has Electrify America," but like that's a whole other story right there. Like, I mean, they were forced to do that by regulators. And then you have in Europe, you have Ionity. So Ionity is what makes it makes a lot of sense, to be honest. I'm not trashing Ionity. A bunch of automakers band together and build that, but it's still a third party company that you have a stake in. And Mercedes is actually one of the companies that have a stake in, or Daimler, I should say. Yeah, now you have your own branded station with unlike Tesla, although obviously Tesla is opening up the network right now, Mercedes plans for those stations to be available to any to EVs from other brands. But they say that Mercedes-Benz owners are going to have benefits only to them, including the ability to reserve a station, which makes me just a tiny bit worried that there's not going to be that many charge point per station. But we'll see. All right, should we jump into the
Yep.
comments? We're just an hour in already.
All right. Have we heard the rumors about the Polestar 2 becoming our rear-wheel drive and getting more range for 2024? I think the Polestar 2 has already had a rear-wheel drive model, but I saw maybe like a hour ago, an email came across with a new Polestar 2 design or something.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the same person that's asking right now,
Yeah.
because it's phrased a similar way. But I know that there's some efficiency improvement in the Polestar 2 also, so it might be just that, and not necessarily like a new model. But they say 2024, so 2024 wouldn't be that exactly. So yeah, there's a single motor. Oh no, it's a front wheel drive, the single motor
Yeah, that'd be
Polestar
right
2.
then.
So that's the difference. Yeah, that was my my thought. Yeah, I do prefer a rear-wheel drive for an EV, to be honest. So that's
Same.
that would be good news. And yes, there's definitely some efficiencies improvement that they can make and increase the range a little bit. And the Polestar 2 could use a little bit more range, in my opinion. So
Agree.
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
All right. I think we're talking about the Dodge Ram or the Ram truck here. From empty to full, 500 miles, 200 kilowatt hours, $36 to fill up at the house.
Depend on the house.
Yeah, where you're located.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the thing at my place is going to be a lot cheaper than that.
You're living the dream.
Yeah.
TFL says that the lower center screen in the Ram is removed. Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
Happy New Year from BC. I hope more for the ID1 and ID2 from VW. I mean, let's get to the ID.3 first. But we saw the ID Life. Is that what it was called?
But that's going to be the ID2, I think. The ID
Yeah.
Life is it's all a bit confusing, but I mean, if we follow what just happened with the ID.Aero that become the ID7, I think the ID Life is going to be the ID2. If
That
ID
makes
Life
sense.
concept was going to become the ID2, so it's going to be
Right.
cheaper.
ID.Aero became the
sedan.
ID7.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Why is there such a lag? Get the Bolt EV. I don't know what we were talking about at that point. Yeah, that was VW. Anyway.
No, I think they're asking if people are having issues getting their hands on the EUV. Is that what
Oh,
they're saying? Or
it's
just
hard.
demand, yeah.
Yeah, demand for such an inexpensive vehicle, especially with the tax rebate. I'm hearing actually some dealers are saying up to 8 months wait
I'm
for
not
those
I'm
things,
not shocked.
which is like when the Equinox will be out.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Mullen, electricity is not only about being chemically clean, but it's also about maybe we'll not
Yeah.
move on for that one. All right, Brian Martindale, hoping you received my email about without media package for my 48 state trip in a Chevrolet provided electric vehicle to recruit 100 adult kidney donors for 100 kids. We'll cover 18,000 miles, hoping it's a start that interests your network. Thanks. All right, we'll look out for that email.
Yeah. Good for you. It's cool.
Mike Angelis. Is the idea that convenience stores or restaurants would buy a DC fast charger to make money and offer a destination for EV drivers? How long typically would it take to pay off the investment? That is the idea.
Yeah. It's a good question, though.
And that is actually the $1 million question, because these DC fast charging stations are sometimes like $20,000-$30,000 or up to $50,000 if you get a couple of stalls.
There's
So that's
hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them too. Like
yeah,
actually, you just mentioned pricing that would be quite cheap, but it would be pricing also that's closer to like a 50 kilowatt station or something like that, which I think is fine for like restaurants, especially like maybe not convenience stores. Um,
where you're going to
Convenience
spend an
stores
hour
are more
anyway.
like gas station. Like you're gonna want to have like a top of the line, like 250 plus kilowatt station. But restaurants, I think even level 2 would make sense to a degree, because you're gonna be there unless it's a fast food. I'm not talking about fast food, but you're gonna be there normally for at least an hour or something like that.
Yep.
So a
50
slow
kilowatts.
DC or a fast AC, like these are 16 kilowatt AC, would make more sense, I think. And those are so much cheaper than the fast charger, the ultra fast charger.
Yeah, and I saw so many of those at CES, and I kept asking prices. Nobody wanted to talk about it, but they were all saying prices were coming down as scale and
Yeah.
innovation happens there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's good. All right, moving on. I saw. Will there be a tax break for the Bolt EUV? You must be new here. That's all we talk about.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's one
yes,
right now for the next
yes.
3 months at least.
Hurry up. Go find one. All right, Curtis Mullen. Municipalities ought to pay half the cost for the first town whatever's to. You know what? I'm not going to go on that one.
You
Is there
guys need to
consistency?
phrase them better a little bit.
Yeah, guys, work on that a little bit. Is there a consistency or discernible logic behind the pricing of Teslas in various markets? It seems like they just do whatever they want without concerns of what customers think about fairness.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm old enough that the vehicle saying I'm old enough to remember when Tesla was so proud and boasting all the time about their pricing policy being uh, no discount and same price everywhere, plus shipping cost and duties, import duties, and all that. That's not the case anymore. Now it's whatever we can sell them for that price in that specific market. That's Tesla's policy now.
Yep, and that's that's capitalism. All right, I'm going to try to get through some of these.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Have there been any standout debuts at CES you see moving the EV tech forward in big ways? Not really. I mean, I would say some of the CCS combo stations we saw that are lowering the price, adding batteries, packaging them up in ways that will be good for the IRA, the infrastructure. That's kind of the idea. getting a whole lot more DC fast charging stations out there is what we need to do. So that's kind of my answer to that. Let's see. And people who stubbornly continue to operate archaic and correctly engineered auto. Okay. Jeez.
And that guy has something about
Yeah.
audio. Like,
Dan Oberst, I think Tesla should market the Yoke as safer since it keeps you from holding your arm over the airbag, keeping you from punching yourself to death in an accident.
huh?
Yeah, I
But
don't like. I guess
you're supposed
your
to be
arm's
holding.
there.
Oh, okay. If you're holding the steering wheel wrong, you're supposed to be holding it 10 and 2. Like, that's not really a good argument in my opinion.
All right. Trying to get some good ones. Tesla doesn't seem to think old looks will be noticed by the general public, whereas the new look, I guess they're waiting for an update. Do you know of any EV pickup for the EU market other than the Maxus MX-90?
I don't even know what the Maxus MX-90 is. There's that a Chinese imported truck that we don't know about.
Yeah,
They,
just
they have, you guys have some of those, and
dial-up mic is Alibaba's thing, and
yeah, or you can just follow those Mike as I have a post.
I
and
think
order that.
Ford's going to bring the F-150 out. They have so many orders here that they don't have.
Yeah, eventually, but I mean, pickup trucks like Europe is not a priority. No, I don't.
All right. Do you think after the steering wheel, stocks might come back on the SX?
No, that I would be shocked, because that would be a big reversal from Elon's comments that every input is a mistake. There's an error. Like they want zero input from the driver. And Tesla has done a lot of moves over the years that are based on them delivering on self-driving, and obviously they haven't done that yet. But reverting on something like that would be a big deal. Oh, Sylvain, say hi. Sylvain fixed I got my wheel hubs done a few weeks ago. Appreciate it. I was in a bad pickle about that. Gonna have to pay like $2,500 to Tesla to
all right, I think we can end it there. I'm seeing a lot of not great questions, so all right. We'll try to.
Well, Tyler Hillard said, "Where's the Tesla safety report? A full year is missing at this point." Yeah, that's a weird one. Tesla just stopped releasing their safety report about autopilot mileage, accident, and everything. Maybe I should do an article about that, because it is strange that they stopped that. We have this suspicion that Tesla, when they don't release data, is because the data doesn't look that good. And that safety report, obviously the data was so bad to start with, like it's not a good data. The only thing it was good for is if you track it against itself. So if you see any improvement over time, but we saw very little improvement over time with that. So maybe Tesla just gave up on it. I don't know. At one point, even added like fire data, which was also interesting, and that made Tesla look a little bit better, I think, especially when the fires were a big story. But I think fires are not that big of a story for Tesla anymore, so maybe they just thought it wasn't worth tracking. I don't know. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. If you do enjoy the show, if you can give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, whatever it is on the app that you're watching for, because we are available everywhere. We would appreciate it a lot. If you're listening on your podcast app, please give us a 5-star rating. That helps the show a ton. And